Just a short time ago, Congressman Matt Gaetz moved to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant. Resolved that the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives is hereby declared to be vacant.
Gaetz following through on his threat to remove McCarthy from the Speaker's chair over the passage of that stopgap bipartisan bill to avoid a government shutdown over the weekend. Now, with the new House rules in place, Gaetz can and has initiated an effort to kick McCarthy out on his own, something McCarthy actually had agreed to in order to secure the speakership. But Gaetz is acting like he's got all the power. I wouldn't be so sure. And McCarthy doesn't seem concerned, tweeting a short time ago, quote, "Bring it on." In reality, it may be Gaetz who's more at risk of losing his job. There are apparently people in his own party preparing to turn the tables on him. Some House GOP members preparing a motion to expel Gaetz once an ethics committee report comes out. Apparently, many Republicans sick of Gaetz, who's made it his mission at times to undercut his own party. Anonymous Republicans in the House telling news outlets, quote, "No one can stand him at this point. Smart guy without morals, and we want him out." According to a report by Fox News, House Republican members will seek to expel Gaetz. Expel him. If the Ethics Committee's report, which has been investigating Gaetz over the last 2 years on allegations involving campaign finance violations, as well as claims of taking bribes and using drugs, comes back with, quote, "findings of guilt." It seems the report is actually mostly written. Now, Gaetz has denied any of these accusations, but Republican leadership now has 2 days to address his motion on McCarthy. Unclear if he's got the votes needed to boot McCarthy from the chair without having to rely on Democrats. But I am more interested in the effort to get rid of Gaetz. Joining me now is Mick Mulvaney, former Republican congressman from South Carolina and former acting White House chief of staff. He's also a NewsNation political contributor. All right, I will get to the questions about McCarthy's future, but I want to start with Gaetz's future. How serious a threat is this to Gaetz?
Hey, Dan, if you'd asked me that question, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, I would have said not that big a deal. Keep on, ethics complaints in the House are fraught with political weaknesses. It's really easy to lodge a complaint. You can do it anonymously. And this was a complaint that was started while the Democrats were in charge of the House. Right. So it wouldn't have been surprised if it sort of just went away once the Republicans took over, but it hasn't. And now that it's sitting there and Gaetz is doing all of this to sort of upset not only folks in the other party, but his own party, it's real. I think you're right. If the committee comes back, committee again, chaired by Republicans, finds wrongdoing on behalf of Matt Gaetz, then this attempt to expel him might be real and might have teeth. And again, I never would have said that 6 weeks ago.
How does that work? I mean, they can just vote to expel him and he's out?
Yeah, I think it's a supermajority. I haven't looked. It doesn't happen very often. It's not a majority. It's either 2/3 or 3/4 of the House has to do it. But you can do it. The House sets its own rules, and the House sets its own admissions. So the House actually votes its own people in, and it can vote its own people out. Look, Matt has not made any friends. Granted, a lot of folks say they come to Washington not trying to make friends. But the Democrats can't stand him and the Republicans can't stand him. You put that together with, a possible negative ethical finding, and that's a formula for getting a trip back to Northwest Florida real quickly.
Yeah, I think it's 2/3 of the House needed in terms of that, you're correct, supermajority that is necessary. All right, now let's talk about Gaetz's effort, because I'm reversing it because everyone else is talking about, oh, will McCarthy be out? McCarthy. I don't think anyone's talking about the fact that this may totally backfire on Matt Gaetz.
In theory, actually, Dan, they both could be out, believe it or not, because the motion could pass in theory, and then the expulsion could pass in theory. So you might be sitting here 3 weeks from now with both of these guys, with McCarthy not in the speakership and Gaetz not in Congress.
Right, but McCarthy would have a job and Gaetz wouldn't. That's the difference. Right. All right. So now let's talk about this effort by Gaetz to get rid of McCarthy. You think he's got the votes?
No, I don't. You're hearing a lot of chatter from Democrats. There was a lot of chatter over the weekend from Democrats saying they had really no interest in doing anything that Gaetz wanted to do. There was one Democrat who said, I wouldn't follow Matt Gaetz into a restaurant, let alone, to vacate the chair. When you've got that type of attitude amongst the people that you need to have on your side in order to accomplish what Matt wants to accomplish, it's really difficult to see a victory here. Keep in mind, he's counting on every single Democrat to vote against Kevin McCarthy, and then at least 5 of his fellow Republicans to also vote against Kevin. My guess is he could probably get the 5 Republicans, maybe get as many as 10 or 15, maybe 20 on a really good day for Matt. But I think this idea that every single Democrat is going to vote with Matt Gaetz is really bizarre.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.